So for your project, it is going to be 20, 29 plus 6, 35-point project. And that's about right because tests are usually 30, 35 points. So it's going to be about the same as your test is going to be. It's going to be in 3 parts. You're going to have to complete your adopt an element data sheet. You're going to draw a Bohr model on a plain piece of paper. And you're going to draw me a PT box, a periodic table box for your element. All right? So I've got some criteria. How am I going to grade it? Well, I looked at your adopt an element sheet, and there's about 20 things that you need to write down about your element. Now, why don't you go ahead and get this out. I want you to mark a couple of things on it if we already haven't. Atomic mass. That's a term that I don't use, so let's clarify. This is your average atomic mass. That's the decimal number thing. Okay? But then it asks you for number of neutrons. Now that's confusing because if you're talking about the element in general, that's a decimal number. But if you're talking about a particular atom, then that's when you can actually count the number of neutrons. So the number of neutrons, you need to write maybe put a little asterisk up here, and then write down at the bottom. That asterisk means the number of neutrons for the most abundant isotope of your element. So that's something that you're going to have to research. That's something that's probably not going to be in your textbook. The most abundant isotope. Now I have a quick way of doing it. If you look at your average atomic mass, which is a decimal number, and you round it to the nearest integer, then that's the mass number of your most abundant isotope. For example, if I look at oxygen, its average atomic mass is 15.9. Round that to the nearest integer, and you get what? 16, right? So the mass number of the most abundant isotope of oxygen is 16. So if I subtract the number of protons from that is 8. So I have 8 neutrons. 8 protons, 8 neutrons. So that makes a mass number of 16. So the most abundant isotope of oxygen has 8 plus 8 equals 16. Okay? So you're going to have to figure out whatever that is for your element. Because on your data sheet, again, it asks you for the average atomic mass, which is something that you're going to put on your PT box. And then it asks you for number of neutrons. You have to specify that's for your most abundant isotope. Okay? So there are about 20 spaces to fill here. Some of this stuff you've gotten immediately out of your textbook. Other, you're going to have to Google some interesting facts. And especially one thing I want to know is how much does a kilogram of your element cost? Okay? Bohr model. This is kind of what I want, but not exactly. I think the only thing that's missing is this one has annotations in the form of call-outs, arrows that are pointing to the various things. Well, you know what? You could do this, but what I ask for is a legend identifying each subatomic particle and its charge. So in this example, I would have a legend, and I would say electrons, and this would be yellow, and they're a negative charge. And then I have, looks like protons are red, and they're a positive charge. And then looks like the neutrons are blue. No charge. Okay, so this one doesn't have the charge information on it. It would be counted off for that. I wouldn't count off that it didn't have a legend because it's clearly identifying the electrons, the neutrons, and the protons. It'd get a point for having color. And if you look, it looks like it's got a little bit of 3D shading going on, so that's nice. Kind of makes it pop a little bit. I like that. It's on a full sheet of plain paper. You don't use plain paper. Do I actually say that? I would like to have it on plain paper. I guess you don't actually get marked off on that if you don't have it on plain paper, but who wants to see lines on their artwork, right? It's got a title. The electrons have to be, you have to have the right number of electrons, and they have to be distributed in the right area. So you know that the first ring gets 2, the second ring can get up to 8, the third ring can get up to 8, the fourth ring, I'm not going to tell you about, okay? All right. And then that's worth 9 points. And then 6 points, I want you to put the, I've got some index cards, large index cards for you here. And if you do a good job at this, I'm going to replace that crummy periodic table with a periodic table made of the boxes that you will create. So this is a little oversized. I'll give you the cards for that. And what I want to see is the symbol, the name, the atomic number, and the average atomic mass. And give me some color. A lot of people made these kind of thematic. So oxygen is an oxidizer. It causes fire to burn brighter. So that's why there's a little fire theme going on there. So you might find some interesting things about your element that you want to include as design elements in your PT box. Okay? So 35 points, 3 things that you need to turn into me before we go on spring break. Any questions? Okay. This you pretty much got done. You should be able to draw a Bohr model in your sleep, and this will be fun to do, right? Okay. All right?
That's not bad.
Good. Okay.